Here on The Real Story, we are trying to have on as many of the candidates as we can to keep you up to date with your leadership choices. We're also getting some expert opinions and perspectives on which races and candidates to watch. For that today, we have current columnist Kevin Rennie here to tell us what is exciting to him in this political season. Thanks, Kevin, for being here.
You're welcome.
Let's start off with the big race. I know. We could spend the whole entire show. Let's start off with the governor's race, which is obviously very much watched. Who do you like in that? How do you think it's going?
Well, I think the Republican race is more in flux than the Democratic race.
Yes.
Figuring out what's going on. Tom Foley, who was nominated at the convention, appears to be the front runner. He's really a stranger to most Republican primary voters. He's never run for statewide office, not really been involved in state politics. Mm-hmm. And he's turning out to be not a very good candidate. He managed to win that nomination. He spent a lot of money. And so there's an opportunity for his two challengers, Lieutenant Governor Michael Fedeli and Business Chamber of Commerce leader Oz Griebel. There's an opening for them. Mm-hmm. As of yet, they've not really taken it. And
do you think Fedeli's been a better candidate?
No, I wouldn't say that there is a good candidate yet. I mean, I would say this: Oz Griebel has been, considering he started completely outside of active partisan politics. You know, he won 20% of the delegates, enough for a primary. Mm-hmm. He seems to be raising some money, and he is raising some of the issues I think that Republicans want to hear about state spending and how state government is run. Mm-hmm. The rest of the candidates, the other four, it's a lot of pablum, and people can't help but notice it.
Is this whole arrest thing with Foley, does he have to explain that more, you think?
I think he does. I mean, not that this happened to you, but let's say you had been arrested for assault with a motor vehicle, right, been held in jail overnight, and later the file was sealed and apparently you were not convicted, as far as we know. Mm-hmm. Would you remember where you were that night, and would you remember who was in the other car since you knew them from the event you'd been at?
I think I would.
Yeah, and he does not remember any of this, mm-hmm, and it's just not credible. And the problem for him is that we don't know him, and so this is the impression that we're getting. Now, he tried to make the impression that he's a successful businessman who would know how to run state government, which is a big entity. But now we're learning other things about him, and he's not nearly as good as explaining them as he is, for instance, with the state budget. And he's really stumbling.
Right. And on the Democrat side, we have now Lamont saying that he's not going to debate Malloy again, which seems
right,
kind of, for us, not good. But
well, it does. It seems strange. It's either one of two things. One is he thinks he has a big enough lead that he can sit on it and not have to worry about a debate. And two, he's not a very good debater. He's just not. He may be good at other things, but debating is not really his strong suit.
Right. If he's not good at debating,
Malloy's a pretty good debater.
Right. And if he's not good at debating and he does have a lead, it wouldn't be a bad strategy, right, to just lay low.
Well, the question is, are Democrat primary voters, who tend to be more engaged than most other voters, are they going to say, you know, we really think that Ned Lamont ought to pay us the respect of getting out there and talking about his views? Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to debate, and he's made that pretty clear. I think he's taking a risk, but I think that his internal polling shows him that it's a risk he can afford to take. He got into some problem this week, though, when his bumbling running mate, Mary Glassman, who is just a disaster, volunteered Ned herself to engage in a four-way debate with Dan Malloy and his running mate, Nancy Wyman. And they quickly, the Ned Lamont team, as they're getting used to doing with Mary Glassman, quickly backed away from that. But she's, you know, in a close race, she will be an albatross. Right. And it shows you that Ned Lamont's political judgment may not be very good.
Speaking of another candidate who's kind of dropped off, probably just resting on the laurels of his big lead, we haven't heard much from Richard Blumenthal at all.
No. For the first time in 20 years, suddenly he's not showing up.
Right? I mean,
well, I don't think so. I don't think we know yet. Linda McMahon is running a pretty shrewd campaign, you know, against formidable odds. But you know, people have said for years that if Blumenthal tried to step up, we were going to see that he had a glass jaw. Uh-huh. I think what we're finding, I'm sorry to keep using these metaphors, but he's not very good at taking a punch. I mean, this whole thing with his not telling the truth about his military record, I think has caused him to retreat.
Shy away.
Yeah.
Shy away, perhaps. Yeah. John Rowland,
in his foxhole.
Right. John Rowland, who was on the radio this week,
yes.
He predicted an upset. He said that McMahon's going to be the upset.
Yeah, I mean, he still knows something about politics, I suppose. But I don't want to dignify John Rowland commenting on public affairs.
He had a lot of listeners, I should say.
Yep. Yeah. And he, used to have a lot of supporters, but he disgraced his office and he betrayed the people. I'm not letting go of that.
What else should we talk about? Okay, we were talking about the number of primaries.
Right.
Because we're already planning extra shows, special shows for all the coverage.
It's a garden of candidates, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And you said that speaks to people perhaps saying that this is a year of opportunity.
I think for Republicans, it feels like that, just like 2006, 2008 did for Democrats. 4 of the 5 congressional districts have Republican primaries. It's unheard of. You just had on the endorsed candidate in the 1st district. She has a primary in that district. I mean, there are 3 candidates in the 2nd district, 3 candidates in the 5th district, also 3 candidates in the 4th district. These are people who, it's a big commitment to run for Congress and to have to go through a primary first. They're all enthused, and they seem to have supporters. I mean, they each did pretty well at convention. Almost all of them did well at the conventions. So there's a broad base that each one's trying to draw from.
Which, is anyone else in trouble? I mean, I don't know. Is anyone, Congressman Larson, Courtney?
No, he's not in trouble. Well,
Murphy?
I'd say this about Joe Courtney's seat. I don't think that the endorsed candidate, Derry Novak, poses any threat. The other 2 may be less predictable. Doesn't mean that they'd win, but they... Peckinpah and Dubitsky. Okay. Yeah, more Peckinpah than Dubitsky, but he could be a wild card, too. I think Justin Bernier in the 5th district against Murphy is the most formidable candidate of the 3. I don't think either of the other 2 likely could win. And Dan DiBasella in the 4th district, he may be in with a chance. If there's a wave that goes across the country, it's most likely to break over the 4th congressional district.
What about, we did just have Martha Dean on. What's going to happen there?
I don't know. That is the nuttiest race in the state.
Hard to call.
She's a very unusual Republican, and yet she won the nomination. Russ Garber is, he was John Rowland's lawyer. I don't know that the Republican Party would really want to go back to that. He's very much an establishment figure. I don't think this is a year for establishment figures.
Interesting.
I don't think it is. I think people are looking for something different. When you look at the candidates for the 3 Republicans running for governor, Linda McMahon certainly is outside the normal political establishment by any measure, and that's what Connecticut Republicans seem to be turning to.
Are you enjoying the season?
Oh, it's like a holiday each week, isn't it? I mean, to decide what to write about is really the hardest choice of each week because there's so much going on, and there are some, put it nicely, vivid personalities out there that we're learning more about.
Right, but that keeps it going. That keeps the characters real. And,
who'd ever think we'd have an endorsed Republican candidate who'd spent a night in jail?
True. Or who had been in the wrestling ring.
Or who'd been in the wrestling ring, yes, with flames and things going up behind her.
It's exciting stuff. Thanks, Kevin, for coming in and talking about it.
You're welcome.
And don't forget, if you missed something here on The Real Story, you can now watch it online by going to fox61.com. You can also catch us on YouTube. Thanks for watching this week's edition of The Real Story. We'll see you here again next week.